All right, welcome to the Aaron Werner podcast on iCode Media. Really excited to welcome back a friend of mine. Michelle and I met, it's probably been 18 months now. And Michelle is with Foundation Fighting Blindness. And we previously had her on podcast to talk about her story, which is an amazing story. And the foundation itself is equally amazing. And we've been able to have fun over the last year, engaging in walks, learning more about the foundation, learning more about what they, how they contribute to fighting eye disease, inherited eye disease, and what's going on in the background. And then most recently, we caught up at the Vision Source Exchange, where we got to hear a really cool announcement from two blind brothers about a partnership. So lots of cool things to jump into, Michelle. But first, welcome back. Yeah, awesome. And for those who haven't had the chance to listen to when you were on previously, give us a real quick update or introduction on how you got to where you're at and a little bit about the foundation.
I'd be happy to. Nearly 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with an inherited retinal disease called retinitis pigmentosa. Nobody in my family has the disease, so it was very much a shock to me. I wasn't sure what to do with the diagnosis, to be quite honest. And like many people diagnosed with these conditions, I had spent some time in the grieving process. For me, my grief was deeply rooted in denial. So after my diagnosis, I spent nearly a decade just kind of wishing away the condition, ignoring any signs, symptoms, or changes in my vision loss. I just really didn't accept the fact that I had this disease called RP. And then one day I was driving. I was coming across the bay. I live in South Alabama. And it was kind of a cloudy day. It was sprinkling when I went into the tunnel. And then the tunnel emerges out onto a bridge that takes you over the Bayway. And when I came out on the other side of the tunnel and onto the bridge, it was absolutely pouring down rain. And I could not see a thing. Fortunately, I was able to get myself over to the side of the bridge. I scraped up my car a little bit, but I didn't hurt myself. I didn't hurt anybody else. And I called for some help to get home. But while I was sitting there, it was just that aha moment. I realized, okay, this disease called retinitis pigmentosa is beginning to impact my world, and I am going to have to find some resources. I'm going to have to make some adjustments. I'm going to have to accept my vision loss and begin to adapt so that I can move forward. So I began to do a little of my own research, and online I stumbled upon the Foundation Fighting Blindness, this organization whose mission it is to drive research to find treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases like retinitis pigmentosa and some others. And the foundation has a flagship fundraiser called Vision Walk. And the goal of Vision Walk is to help raise money to support the research that's being done in order to find treatments and cures. And I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. So my first connection with the Foundation Fighting Blindness was through Vision Walk in 2011 in Northern Alabama. And it was a delightful experience. It was a little nerve-wracking, a little scary. It was the first time I had ever really stepped out in front of others and said, yeah, I have this disease. And but it was also very empowering, and it was wonderful to be around others who walked the same journey as me, and to see all of the success that is ongoing in the blind and low vision community, and also to get some hope around treatments and cures for the future. So that was my initial connection, and then several years later, I joined the foundation. My role is now Director of Professional Outreach, and I absolutely love what I do, very passionate about the work that we're doing at the foundation.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, and your passion is palpable. Every time we engage, we can feel it. And what I love about that is your story, and I appreciate you sharing it. Brief, helps to make these the impact of these diseases real. Even as a doctor, an eye doctor that treats them and engages with it, sometimes there's a difference between what I know and what is emotionally happening to our patients and people's, and understanding how it's impacted. Cognitively and rationally, we can think we know, but until you're in that or hear from somebody who is and how they're affected, I think it's hard for us to fully understand all the different things that are impacted in your lives because of diseases and things that right now, are not curable and not, so there's no quick fix, right? It's learning lifestyle changes and having your whole world change on you. So I appreciate you sharing that. One of the things that I liked about the foundation when we first engaged was as a primary care optometrist, I have patients with retinal disease but we don't have a lot. So I have, a couple families that have RP, but it's not something I deal with on a day in to day out. And in the middle of the day, when you get somebody get a patient that you suspect may have a retinal disease, an inherited retinal disease, being able to have a resource to send them to, because that's not a conversation that's really easy to have in 3 to 5 minutes and then send them out on their way to move into the next patient, right? You're flipping somebody's world upside down, and being able to have somewhere to connect them with, resources to connect them with, resources for my staff to have to understand better what's going on. I think it's very huge just from a patient care perspective, let alone how you in the foundation work with the individuals who have received that diagnosis. And speaking of that, you guys have done some series and some webinars on education for eye care professionals and their teams. Talk to me a little bit about those.
I'd be happy to. We, as a professional outreach team, have a number of resources for the eye care community, pamphlets, brochures, disease-specific literature. We do a lot of education around genetic testing and genetic counseling, the My Retina Tracker registry, clinical research that's underway. And we also connect eye care professionals with chapters in local communities all over the United States. One thing we're doing more of is really discussing the continuity of care and all of the different pieces of the eye care professional endeavors that are important, right, for individuals with retinal degenerative disease. I am really proud of a webinar that we recently hosted in March of this year called Best Clinical Practices for Patients with Inherited Retinal Disease. We had 2 amazing key thought leaders deliver that presentation, Dr. Rochelle Lynn, who is an OD from Southern California College of Optometry, and Dr. Rachel Huckfeld, who is an MD from Massachusetts Eye and Ear. Together, they delivered just a very robust discussion around how to provide the best clinical care available for patients with an inherited retinal condition like RP, Stargardt disease, Usher syndrome. They talked about what to do when you're delivering a clinical diagnosis, diagnostic testing that's necessary, the role of genetic testing and genetic counseling for the inherited retinal disease patient. They covered low vision resources and low vision rehabilitation and how impactful those pieces are for the IRD patient community. And there was also some discussion around the clinical trial landscape. There's a lot going on in the way of research for inherited retinal conditions right now. More than 45 clinical trials and a number of different therapeutic modalities are being investigated. So lots to keep an eye out on and take a look at. And one of the other items that they really discussed was the continuity of care and referral process between professionals. And that's so important. I mean, for an individual with an IRD, we definitely need good medical care, right? But we also need connection to low vision resources, adaptive devices and technologies, rehabilitation like orientation and mobility services, adaptations for the home and work environment. There are a number of different pieces that play a role in allowing individuals with vision loss due to these conditions to really thrive independently in daily life. And then, of course, connecting individuals with organizations like the Foundation Fighting Blindness and many others for the hope piece, for the camaraderie piece, for the community piece. That recording is now available. If you want to visit fightingblindness.org, in the top right-hand corner, there's a link that says Eye Care Professionals. And if you select the webinar link on that page, it will drive you to that recorded session. We also have an on-demand series that's available on our professional outreach page called A Path Forward for IRD and dry AMD patients. That's been available for a couple of years now. We currently have 5 different episodes, and there are a lot of different topics covered: the patient journey, what inherited retinal diseases are, genetic testing, genetic counseling, and the My Retina Tracker registry, clinical trials, age-related macular degeneration. And we are going to be adding 3 additional episodes to that series. And those are actually pulled from the Best Practices for Patients with Inherited Retinal Diseases webinar. So those will be available and coming soon. We have shared that episode series with physicians under the Vision Source umbrella. So for those of you that are out there, keep an eye out for these additional episodes. They will be available hopefully on your learning management system as we share that with the Vision Source team. So appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I think the education is something we can never get enough of, and awareness. It helps drive empathy. It helps drive understanding. It helps drive better care. So a couple of questions on these series. What impact have you found through the foundation, you work through the foundation, on connecting the different professional modalities, helping them understand how to have the communication with patients with IRDs, how to help them know where to refer patients to for various needs. But just anecdotally, what of the impact have you seen, and what are some of the best practices that you wish everybody knew?
Yeah, I think that there are two pieces to that, right? You've got the patient side and the physician side. I know as an eye care professional, you and all of your colleagues, you want to be able to provide resources and guide patients. The fact of the matter is inherited retinal diseases they're rare, right? So as you mentioned, it is infrequent that you come into contact with patients who need these services. So through the work that we've done through professional outreach at the foundation, raising awareness about local low vision resources, specialists in the area that can help with adaptations, devices, technologies, different organizations that provide orientation and mobility training or guide dog training, organizations that provide connections to others in the community who experience vision loss, connections to groups that can, like the Foundation Fighting Blindness, that can provide an overview of clinical research that's underway and genetic testing and genetic counseling and provide those services at no cost. That's a huge benefit for the eye care community because now you have your pulse on what to do in those rare cases when you have that patient that comes in, right? You can direct them locally to resources that can help really provide a full gamut of services to enable that patient to thrive and to get the guidance and assistance they need, and also to have hope and optimism for the future. That's so important. From a patient perspective, when we go into a physician's office and we're diagnosed with one of these conditions, the commentary, the conversation changes as education and awareness improves. So historically speaking, somebody like me goes into an eye care professional and I'm diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa. And many of us have been told there's no treatment, there's no cure, there's nothing that we can do for you, right? But through the education, through learning about all of the different resources and research and genetic testing and organizations and support, now the conversation can be, you do have a challenging condition. There are going to be some things that we need to help you through in navigating your world as your vision changes. But there are a lot of things out there that can help you, and I can get you connected with those services so that you can thrive, so that you can continue to work, so that you can do things that you enjoy, so that you can connect with others, and so that you have all of the resources you need as your vision changes and progresses. And I am here with you as an eye care professional every step of the way. And I'm going to connect you with others who can provide additional services to support you as well. It's a team approach. It's truly a team approach. And I think with education, as the eye care community learns more about blinding eye conditions and more about the resources available, and as technologies advance and research advances, there's just so much more that can be offered. And it changes the scope and world for all of us as patients and as professionals. Great question. Love that. Thank you for asking it.
Oh, of course. No, thank you for sharing that. When I first graduated and started practicing, I thought I needed to be everything to everyone. And it was hard to say either, I don't know. What I like saying here, especially for me, it was the genetic counseling. I understand it. I'm just not overly comfortable in explaining it and counseling and getting into the, answering the detailed questions that came back. But being able to say, as you just demonstrated, we're part of a team and I'm on this journey along with you. Somebody on the team will have the resource, have the answer. And, one person doesn't win a football game. You've got different positions for a reason. And same thing here. We've got different experts for a reason. And collectively, my job is to get you to the resources that you need to get to, and then be another resource for you along this path. So I really appreciated having that ability to know where to take somebody, to send somebody, to engage with them. Right. And then along those lines, we got to participate in San Diego in our first vision walk, and which was exciting for a lot of reasons. One, I think we know that there's a big team, but until you see the people, it doesn't make it real. Right. So showing up, seeing all the different booths, seeing the different groups that are involved and engaging, seeing how the patients with IRDs and their families, and then the professional teams all being there under one, well, not under one roof, we were outside, but in one place, right, all together, was really impactful, not just for, I think, the professionals, but we invited our team and their families, and they got to see that they're part of something much bigger. We know what we do in our four walls, 8 to 5 every day, but what happens beyond those four walls? What happens when we do refer somebody else? Who are they going to? How are they engaging? How are they living their life? Because we see them navigate life within our office, but not necessarily out in their world. So that was pretty impactful, I think, for everybody involved, from the teenagers that came all the way through my staff and their significant others.
We very much appreciate you participating in that vision walk. We were delighted to have the Vision Source team. And there are vision walks that take place all over the United States in the spring and in the fall. So if any physicians out there want to form a team and get involved, it's for a great cause. It helps support research and raise awareness. And as you mentioned, the patients and families that are at those walks, it's such an inspiring event. And all of the people that I know with vision loss that participate in Vision Walk, they just love the camaraderie, they love the interaction, they love the community. It's just such a meaningful event. So we certainly appreciate you participating and sharing about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a fantastic event. We will be back for sure. Let's jump to one of the most exciting announcements that we had that came out of the exchange when we had the two blind brothers. And if you're not familiar about the two blind brothers, two brothers with inherited retinal disease, really down to earth guys, right? It's sometimes we get speakers and people, and they're professionals. They feel like they're not relatable, but these two brothers are hilarious, right? They're like me and my brother growing up, right? Just making fun of each other and having fun and back and forth. But tell me a little bit about this, their new frame line, and about how that impacts the foundation. The Myopia Collective. Cooper Vision and the AOA have partnered in a groundbreaking initiative to change the way optometrists in the U.S. treat children with myopia. The purpose of the Myopia Collective is to rally the profession of optometry and its allies to interrupt the status quo and elevate the new standard of care for children with myopia. Every individual is encouraged to become a member of the collective. By joining, you commit to taking action to help slow the progression of myopia in children. You'll receive updates and information about the collective and its work in the fight against myopia, gain access to educational opportunities and resources offered by the collective, and hear from change agents, the ambassador optometrists selected to serve as advocates for community and policy change that facilitates the mission of the collective. Scan the QR code or click on the link in the show notes to join the collective today. In the past, our focus revolved around prescribing MacuHealth or MacuHealth Plus to patients at risk of macular degeneration, while also recommending it to collegiate and professional athletes for enhanced contrast sensitivity in sports performance. However, this year's introduction of the Life Meter has been a game changer. The Life Meter revealed a concerning truth. Many of my patients have alarmingly low skin carotenoid levels, indicating potential deficiencies in essential body tissues like the retina and brain. Supported by over 30 peer-reviewed publications, Life Meter's accuracy, consistency, and effectiveness has been demonstrated across 2,000 subjects with diverse backgrounds. With this newfound insight, I can now have meaningful conversations about carotenoid levels with all of my patients, even those who may seem outwardly healthy. To learn more about this empowering technology, feel free to contact your MacuHealth representative or click on the link in the show notes. Together, let's optimize patient care and elevate their well-being.
So I've had the pleasure of collaborating and meeting with Brad and Brian at a handful of different conferences over the years, and they are such an inspiration. And as you mentioned, they are hysterical. They are constantly, playing off of one another. They are just a delight to be around. Very warm and, yes, very down to earth. They've done a lot to support the mission of the Foundation Fighting Blindness through their Two Blind Brothers line. They've donated a lot of money towards research to find treatments and cures for inherited retinal diseases like theirs. They both have Stargardt disease. And most recently, they have partnered with a company called LeMay. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yep. To develop an eyeglass frame line. And for those of you who can see, I'm putting a pair on. I got a pair of these at the Vision Source conference, and they are delightful. They're very light. I'm waiting on my prescription so that I can get that filled. But what they're doing with LeMay is the partnership is enabling 10% of sales of these eyeglass frames to come back to the Foundation Fighting Blindness for research to find treatments and cures for blinding conditions. So just another way that those two are giving back and helping the Foundation Fighting Blindness drive the mission. So it's been wonderful to be able to connect with them and meet them and spend some time with them as well.
Oh, absolutely. And if you happen to be in attendance there, they brought their when they were on stage announcing this and doing their little mini keynote, they brought their children on at the very end, and we have a giant parrot as one of our mascots, and one of the little girls went up and gave the huge bird a hug on screen. So it was very engaging, very heartwarming, cool story. And what I loved about this, in addition to supporting financially, is just the education it brings, right? The two blind brothers, 2BB line, has some braille on the temple, right? Very subtle, but there's a story that goes behind it. And with any product, if you can put that story and that emotion behind it, it just makes it so much more powerful. You know, something as simple as a smartphone. I don't have a smartphone. I have an iPhone, right? I don't drive a truck. I drive a Chevy. It's, how do you connect? And so you can sell eyewear, or you can sell, two Blind Brothers frames that, hey, look at it. I can show my friends. They got the temple on it. I can reiterate and share the story of the two blind brothers. I know that it's going to a good cause. If you don't need eyewear, they've got a whole clothing line that's, some of the best socks I've ever worn. And in fact, I was always a Stance guy. I love my Stance socks, but two blind brothers are the only other socks that grace my sock drawer, just because the quality is so good. But a really cool story, really neat and engaging. And it's just so much more powerful because now we're not just helping our patients, everyday patients, see and get fitted with eyewear, but we're helping to educate them, share a good cause, and just expand our impact in the world, which I love.
Agreed.
So very cool. I will put a link in the show notes if you're interested in that two blind brothers line. I'll also put a link to the foundation and the two blind brothers websites, because all wonderful places to visit, be aware of, get some education around, and whatnot. So Michelle, looking forward in 2024, we're 5 months into the year. What do you see for the foundation? What do you guys have coming up for the rest of this year?
As always, an array of events. We actually are this year hosting our biannual conference called Visions 2024. That'll be the end of June 21st and 22nd in Chicago. And that is a 2-day conference that is for the patient community. Now, we do have a number of professionals that participate in that as well. But it's a couple of days for individuals with retinal degenerative disease, either an IRD or AMD, to come together. Many bring their families. There's a lot of information about the clinical research that's underway, and there's a lot of that going on. We bring in vendors from different organizations to share about who they are, what they do, the services they provide. And it is just a really great opportunity to collaborate and to meet others and to connect and have some fellowship. So that's probably the biggest event that we have ongoing as an organization in 2024. I'm looking forward to it. It will be only my second Visions conference. The first one that I went to was a couple of years ago in Orlando. And as an individual with a blinding retinal disease, I walked away from that conference with a new understanding and appreciation for the strength of the low vision and blind community. There are so many individuals that have adapted in ways that are just so remarkable. And when I left Visions in Orlando, I really started to think about my future, and it allowed me to make some changes for myself to prepare me for changes in my vision moving forward. So it's a really great conference. And if anybody wants information about that, again, fightingblindness.org, there is a tab to Visions 2024 in Chicago. Of course, there are a lot of vision walks coming up, a lot of research to be funded. We're as an organization just continuing to drive the mission and hoping to find additional treatments and cures, and we have some promising trials underway. Perhaps some of those will cross the finish line in the coming years.
Yes. Very cool. I love all of that, and I love what I love most is just the power of community. In today's world, I joke with my kids that they don't have friends; they have e-buddies because they don't talk to them in person. They just text back and forth all day long. But there's a lot of power when you're with somebody face to face, in person. There's nothing that replaces the conversations that you have standing in the food line, or standing in the line waiting for the bus to pick you up, or waiting for a session to start at the conferences, and just learning about people, learning about the challenges that they have in life and how they've overcome them, because everybody has challenges and everybody's overcome them. And those stories are incredibly empowering, impactful, and at least for me, motivating to help me overcome challenges that I have. So I think it's wonderful, all the different types of in-person and community engagements that you guys build. Certainly we leverage technology, and you do a wonderful job of that for the virtual community, but that in-person impact is tough to overcome. So that's super exciting stuff. And I know firsthand how hard it is and how much work goes into putting on a conference that size. So kudos to you guys for doing that. So very cool. Well, Michelle, if anybody wants any more information, I'll put the link up to the website online. Definitely check out the walks if they're coming into your area. Strongly recommend both the recorded webinar that you had talked about, and then the Path Forward series, not just for the providers, but for the entire team. Whether you're the doctor, the technician, the insurance person, the optician, right? We're all eye care professionals. We're all taking care of individuals and their needs. And so I think it's important that we're all aware of the resources available, and then, how we can better take care of our patients. So any parting comments for us?
Just thank you. As always, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks to the Vision Source team for the support that you've provided to the Foundation Fighting Blindness and to our professional outreach efforts. It's been such a pleasure to connect and to get to know everybody on the team. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, please feel free. I look forward to hearing from any and all of you, and hope you have a wonderful day.